Just give you a little bit of a rundown of what's happening. Since the bowl game, we've had the opportunity to, believe it or not, I've never been associated with a dead period that runs for 30 days. And I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel a little bit lost out there that we should be doing something that, and we're not getting something done, but it's been a little bit different. Our coaches are back in the office today. It's dead today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, but we're making our plans for the final week and a half or 2.5 to 3 week push as far as recruiting goes. It goes back to a live period on Thursday. So on Thursday and Friday this week, we're going to hit every school in the state of West Virginia. What we got is every coach has 10 to 12 schools in the state. So they'll hit their particular schools, with the exception of Billy Legg on Thursday. Him and I are going to go hit some schools in Ohio, and then he'll be back in West Virginia on Friday, and then the following 2 weeks we'll finish up with the Florida, Georgia, and the rest of those areas. So I think recruiting's going well. Excited where we are. Our players are all back. Today, of course, classes started, and they started back in the weight room today. But at that point, I guess I'll just take some questions. And
when you walk into a school now and can show that kind of a tangible evidence of, you don't just say, hey, we're improving. You can look and say, hey, here's 10 wins, we've improved. How does that change the way you're, I mean, you have a reputation when you walk in, people know who you are, but does it change anything when you can say, this is what we've been able to do?
Well, I don't think there's any question. I think that, there's no doubt that recruits and players, they want to be a part of football programs that are playing for championships. They want to be part of programs that get the chance to go to bowls. Football, there's an easier way to go to school than be on scholarship as a football player. We demand just so much time, and there's so much required of them and all that it's great at the end of the day. They get all those bowl gifts, and they get the opportunity to play on a national stage, on ESPN. They get a chance to go to the bowl games and all those kind of things. So, the one thing about Marshall University and the football program, it's got great tradition. I mean, you walk into a lot of every home out there, they can tell you about the number of wins they had in the 90s and early 2000s, and the Randy Mosses and Chads and Byrons and on and on and on. And we're getting back to that. They had the opportunity, against Maryland in the Military Bowl, was seeing, a football team go out and beat a BCS team and play extremely well. So there's no doubt that helped us. And I think the one other thing, I think Jack, got this to me is, if you look at the ratings of that particular game, it was huge as far as the ratings on, and it was a great time slot because we were the only show on at that particular time. And I think also at that point, there was a lot of fans out there. They weren't bowl weary. I mean, they hadn't watched so many of them. They were anxious to see a bowl and see a couple good football teams play. So I think we reaped a lot of benefits from a national exposure on a national stage, and having the opportunity to win that particular bowl in the fashion that we did against a good ACC football team is going to reap its benefits down the road.
Now, talk about the significance of just winning your last game. I mean, a lot of teams go into bowl situations, you never really know how you guys will respond, but you get that big win, and that's important throughout the whole offseason. Yeah,
there's no doubt. I mean, I think any time, and I've said many times in here to you all, I think too, is the bowls you remember the ones you win. I've had the opportunity to be fortunate to play in 23, 24, 25, whatever it is, but I remember the ones that we won. Unfortunately, the last 3 years, we won a couple of them here. We finished up in St. Pete with a win over FIU, and that carried us over. And then, of course, this was a big one here in the Military Bowl against Maryland. But it just gives you so much momentum going in the offseason. I think the other thing, we've got a lot of players back. I mean, we've got a lot of, football players on this team that are back, that have had the opportunity to go experience that bowl experience and experience that they gained from playing on a national stage against a good football team should help us in the future.
You're talking about the guys who are coming back. I mean, you talk a lot about the senior leadership this year, but you also had a lot of junior leadership now. These guys are becoming seniors. How much momentum does that build when you have a lot of veteran guys, the Catos, the Schulers, the Jasperses, that can kind of catapult you into next season?
I kept those guys. We met this morning at 6 o'clock as a team just to make sure everybody gets back and classes are squared away and times and study halls and all those things are in order. And I kept that group of guys that had been captains at some point during the year there, and I looked around. There's a pretty good group. You look around, and it's not just Cato and Jaspers and Rouse and Van Horn, but you got a freshman Corey Tyndall sitting there, and you've got a lot of. There's a good mix of seniors to be and younger players, Evan McKelvey's and all those guys that are starting to come along. And I just thought to myself, we're so much further ahead than we were this time last year. I looked out there a year ago, I didn't see what I see right now, which is a good thing, and it's going to be important. One of the reasons we had the success we had, one of the number of games we won, was because of the leadership that took place and because of the kind of team we became. And it's just so important that this is a totally different team now. I mean, what happened last year is over, and this team's starting today, and it's just so important that that group of not only seniors but sophomores and juniors that are sprinkled in there, provide the leadership that those kids did a year ago to get us to where we were. But it's a great start. I mean, you look out there, and as a head football coach, you feel pretty good because there's not only some really good players sitting there, but some really good people too. That's important.
Coach, are you prepared now as you get ready for the offseason? I think CBSSports.com has you 25th. You get some votes with USA Today. You'll get some publicity coming in next year, and how you guys handle it, I guess, will be important to how you move on.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, I think it's great that we're starting where we are. I mean, I think expectations here are extremely high, and that's what that's when I came here. That's what we expected to get done. Is to be able to have people talking about us prior to the season, and guess what, they are. But there's also, that's a good thing. But you got to make sure that number one, and we can use that to our advantage as coaches and as a team. I mean, you got to, you can't get complacent in any way, shape, or form. I mean, that's a good, but bottom line is, somebody telling you you're going to be a top 25 team, that's not what gets you there. It's, the work and everything goes along with it. But, we can't become complacent. We can't become selfish in any way, shape, or form. And we got to make sure we stay accountable to each other. And so those three things, there's three things that will always keep you from reaching your expectations and dreams and goals, whatever you do. And number one's complacency. If you think you arrived, you haven't. It's my job as head football coach to make sure these coaches and players don't become complacent in any way, shape, or form. And I can't let that happen. We can't let them become selfish. And selfishness comes in a lot of different ways. It's thinking more about yourself and the team and making bad decisions. Everything goes along with it, not just stats and that kind of thing, which you normally relate to selfishness. And, of course, accountability and everything they do. There's a direct correlation on how your team acts off the field, how accountable they are, and how they play on the field. I don't think there's any doubt about that. If you're accountable in the classroom and in the community and everything you do off the field, chances are you're going to be pretty accountable on the field. So if we can, keep doing those three things and keep working, as a football team to make sure those three things don't happen in any way, shape, or form, we got a chance, I think, to be pretty good.
You talk about these way too early top 25s and stuff like this, and like you said, it shows that people are right now talking because they've gone to a playoff and now it's a committee. It's not some computer. It's not a computer algorithm. And not only that for a playoff, but the group of 5 selection, it will be, I think, decided by that committee too. Now you have now it's not just mathematics, it's people. The human eyes are trying to decide this. How advantageous is it that, like we've been saying, there's now people talking now? So if you can keep the momentum going, do you think it'll help you kind of get you further along than, say, if you were just coming from behind like a couple years ago?
I don't think there's any question. I think the one thing that you concern yourself with is just take care of business. I mean, just control what you can control. And the one thing we can control is every week we go out there, we got to play extremely well and focus on that particular task at hand. But I'd sure as heck, I like where we are. And I mean, I like those high expectations. I think, again, this is the first time in 12 years or whatever it's been that people are even mentioning Marshall University in the top 25 preseason, and you guys know when that last time happened. I don't know that. I mean, it could have been 10, 12, 14 years ago, whenever it was. But the important thing is, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that we finish up there or better, or even better than that. I mean, to be honest with you. So, it's just, I think expectations are good. And I think as a team and as a coaching staff, we'll embrace those expectations and do everything we can to make sure we meet those high standards and goals.
You mentioned your staff going out to every school in West Virginia. I know you can't talk about any individual player, but as a whole, what do you see out of West Virginia kids that you think can help your team?
Well, I just think it's important to us that, number one, we don't miss anybody. I mean, if you look around our football team right now, you look at that bowl game, Blake Brooks, Cheese, played extremely well in that game. He went in and played a lot of guard and played well. And he's going to play a lot of guard for us again next year from South Charleston. Then you look at Van Horn. I talked about Van Horn from Beckley. Those are two guys that, to be honest with you, weren't recruited in high school very heavily at all. Both of them ended up being walk-ons, but are good football players. And Van Horn, at the end of the year, may have been one of the best offensive linemen in Conference USA. Derek Mitchell contributed tremendously for us. You know, on all speeds, a special team player of the year. And, you know, you look at, you know, you got Cody Carter here. I guarantee you Cody Carter from down at Cabell Midland next year is going to play for us. I mean, he'll help this football team tremendously. So, excuse me, we're just going out, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but Joe Woodrum played on special teams for us from Princeton. He was not a recruited guy. So, there's a lot of football players out there in West Virginia that number one, Marshall University is extremely important to them, but can help us win. And, you know, we just want to get our faces in every school, make sure we're not missing anybody. And, you know, we want to encourage as many athletes as we can, student athletes, to come to Marshall, and that's just our way of getting that done.
Is it almost like a diamond in the rough situation that not many other colleges are looking at him? You're able to send a kid out to.
I mean, you know, it's hard. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of diamond in the rough out there anymore. I think a lot of players in the state of West Virginia got big old hearts, but they're underdeveloped. You know, if you look at every one of those kids I mentioned, you know, they didn't come in here as really good players. They came in here at guys that love football, that had big old hearts, that were willing to work extremely hard to get to where they are, and they've turned out to be really good. So, you know, if there's guys out there like that, then, you know, we want to find them. And I think it's important to me that we don't miss anybody in the state. And we're gonna miss a few, make some mistakes. I mean, we all do. But you know, we're gonna work extremely hard. That if there's a guy out there that has an interest in us, that likes football, and football is important to him, that we give him the opportunity to play.
What areas where are kind of your specific need areas going into this last push for
I think for the most part we're just about finished. You know, we've got 4 or 5 kids that started school today, and that'll be part of that recruiting class. And then we've got a couple spots that we still have to fill, but we still need to get a couple offensive linemen. You know, we've got a couple linemen out there that we're just about finished there. We need to finish up that class with a couple. We've got a couple that we like. One started school today, and then we've got another corner probably out there per se, and that's just about it. But you know, we're going to continually look for really good players, and there may be one guy just the best possible player we get at the end of the day to take. So there's still some mixing and matching that's going on, and still a lot of work left to do. But I like where we are at this point. We just need to finish it the right way.
How nice is it to kind of be pretty much wrapping up instead of making a push?
It's great. And you know what? To be honest with you, with the way the new recruiting rules are, with that dead period going from December 15th to January 15th, you better be pretty much set to that point and have your hooks in the rest of them, because there's not a lot of time left. And you know, we got a big weekend this weekend. We got a big weekend next weekend as far as players coming in, and that'll just about finish us up. So it's a good thing.
Can you discuss the ones who have enrolled, or?
I don't know that I can, because they have to start classes. I know Jason will get that to you as soon as they have to officially be in class and all that. I know our compliance guy, as soon as when I finish up here, we'll go down there, Jason, see who actually attended class. They all better attend class. They'll be here at 6 o'clock Saturday morning. You can see them out there running. But it's all good. I'm sure they were there.
Anybody go by the wayside?
Say it again.
Anybody go by the wayside?
Not that I know of right now.
There's another kind of a new rule in recruiting that being able to sign the financial aid agreement, say, like, you know, if you're, you know, I think Cole Garvin did that.
Yes.
You know, how good of a tool is that, of a new tool is that in recruiting? Kind of how does that enhance a college football coach's ability to work?
You know, that rule, you're absolutely right. It was for midterm grads. We took advantage of that with Cole. We took advantage of that with a couple other kids. So what it did was it opened up the line of communication. You had unlimited communication then, which means you could call them every day, you could text message, you could do whatever you wanted to do, because the dead period was not into effect. And a matter of fact, there was colleges that took advantage of that rule, and if you signed that grant and aid, even during a non-contact period, you could take your whole staff into their homes and do in-home visits with those kids. And a lot of the people of SEC schools of the world and all that, they got kids to sign those midterm deals, and there was a lot of contacts going on and a lot of things going on that people took advantage of. There was also a rule in there that if you signed them, that you could visit them during the dead period, and you could go off campus and recruit, but they changed that. Like 24 hours after it happened during the dead period, that part of it changed. So that's still a rule, and I'm sure that's going to change several times between now and next recruiting season. But it was a rule that we took advantage of from a communication standpoint with several players.
Yeah. And how has that enhanced I mean, obviously it enhances communication, what does that enhanced communication do for kind of the experience and kind of the relationship?
Well, I think it's because like I say, you got unlimited calls with them. They can call you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was able to call Cole Garvin, you know, all I wanted to call him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he is one we can talk about because he did sign that,
Mm-hmm.
that deal. And he is in school today. So, you know, he was a guy that we had, and he was important, you know, called to that class, as quarterbacks always are. But it just opened up all the communication and just made things so much easier as far as the early enrollment and transcripts and all the paperwork and all that has to go along with it.
And it seems also that it's I would, at least not with Cole, it wasn't a risk because you know this guy would seem to be a solid verbal way, but you know some guys you're just like, hey, you can sign this. It's like they're not beholden to you, but you're beholden to them, and they can still do whatever they want up to signing day. But it just seems that like we're making this. We're making this commitment to you, and it just seems that that's one of those, hey, you know, if they're doing this for me, they must really feel I'm important. Does that kind of work in it too?
Yeah, and you had multiple. There was instances in Miami, for example, that players signed multiple grant and aids, and which means they could sign a grant and aid with 2 or 3 different schools, which opened up. I mean, why they'd want to do that, I have no idea. But for example, now during the dead period and all that, they were getting unlimited calls from 3 or 4 different schools because they signed grant and aids with all of them. So that's a rule that I'm sure because of some people are taking advantage of it, and that's probably something that the NCAA is going to look into and will probably change for next year. But I don't know.
Anybody got to miss spring practice for sure? Have you got to this point? Injuries.
Doesn't look like right now. I mean, I think and that's a tribute to Scott and our strength staff. I mean, I thought for the most part, knock on wood, I mean, we didn't have a lot of. This time last year, we looked like a morgue down there. I mean, we had more daggone shoulder surgeries, and half our team was in red. And fortunately, we got a couple minor things, but I don't think we have anything. I don't think we have anything major at this point, to be honest.
Not even Kareem.
Well, he's had that. He's already. I mean, Tareen he had his surgery 4 or 6 weeks ago, whatever it was. But he did.
Yeah, I saw him still he was still on crutches.
Right. He had that was back prior to the bowl, right? He was really the only major deal that we had. It was
Stanley?
No, Stanley should be fine. He should be Stanley should be fine for spring practice. He should be fine for workouts this week. You've got to force it with him.
How much do you tinker with scheme, things like that? Kind of in the off season, or do you kind of look at like, hey, it worked? Or?
No, I think you always. I don't think you stay the same. You get better, you get worse. And I think in this business, people are constantly trying to, find ways to catch up with that so-called, the spread offenses now seems to be the phase, and the defenses are working their tail off to try to catch up with the offenses and vice versa. So you never stay the same. I mean, you want to continue to try to work to get better. And what we'll do is, we do a lot of, as a staff, we'll pick out the different things that we need to work on and try to find. We'll find either people to bring in to try to help us figure out some things, or we'll go places to fix whatever we think needs fixed, or whatever we got to get. Do a little better. So we'll spend a lot of time on that in the off season.
Coach Lake had mentioned kind of the growth of Cato. Like, we threw him in there as a freshman because we had to. We didn't want to, we had to. Sophomore, learned really how to run the offense. As junior, he really learned how to kind of, grow in the offense. What do you see him doing as his senior year, and how much, I don't want to say input will he have in the offense, but what kind of will that kind of line of discussion be like between him and Coach Lake, between him and you, just kind of because he has such a deep knowledge and deep experience with this?
I think he'll just continue like everybody else to get better at their position, and he's done a tremendous job. You all have all witnessed his growth. I mean, from when he shouldn't have been playing as a freshman to where he is at this point, and he just got to he'll continue to grow in all phases. Like I say, he should be unfortunately, he should be a junior right now, to be honest. He's not, but I think the weight room, another year in the weight room was going to be extremely critical for him. You know, I know he's got extremely high expectations and dreams. He'll have to continue to work on all the intangibles that are so important at the quarterback position. And there's a lot of things that we're going to try to do as a coaching staff. I'll try to do as his head coach to prepare him to be the best possible quarterback he could be. And he's got a lot of great resources out there of ex-quarterbacks that have played here. It was great to see Byron have the opportunity to stop by practice and be an honorary captain. You know, Chad's been just tremendous with him, and you know, he didn't have to go very far to look at have two great role models of what it takes not only to be a great quarterback here at Marshall University, but what it takes to be a great pro. And we'll do everything we can to help him, you know, develop, you know, his skills not only on the field and in the weight room, but also the intangibles it takes to get him where he wants to go.